Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello, Namaskar, greetings to you all. Welcome back. We have had 4 subunits of language skills so far. We began by looking at basics of language skills. We talked about process of communication, and then we started talking about 2 broad aspects of language skills. We discussed that there are 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But these 4 language skills are categorized into receptive skills and productive skills. So we talked that listening and reading are receptive skills, whereas speaking and writing are productive skills. At the same time, we talked about oral skills and literacy skills or written skills. Oral skills are listening and speaking, whereas reading and writing are literacy or writing skills. We discussed in detail how these skills can be taught to the students, and we also discussed that when any child learns his or her first language, the child does so by first listening to a language, then gradually trying to speak. When the child gets proper schooling, formal education, reading and writing are introduced to the child then. What it means basically is there are several languages which do not have written system of the language, and it exists primarily in the sound system or the oral system of the language. So far, what we have done, we have broken down the language into 4 basic skills components: the receptive skills and productive skills. And we also talked about 2 other pillars of learning language: grammar and vocabulary. But when you look at language, which we use primarily for communication, you do not use any of these 6 items that we have been discussing so far, whether we are talking in terms of listening, whether we are talking in terms of writing or reading or speaking. You cannot dissociate them from either grammar or vocabulary. And similarly, grammar or vocabulary are meaningful only when you are talking in terms of the language skills. So we are discretely looking at each element. When we use language, we integrate all the language skills. So in my final subunit, I am going to talk about how language skills can be integrated and how can they be taught integratively rather than breaking up into constituent parts. As I was telling you, any language can be taught either discretely or holistically. So when we talk about discrete teaching, we break them into several parts. Why do we break is a question, because it is easy to teach. So one day in a classroom, we decide that we will be doing only listening practice. So the teacher can bring some audio tapes, some video tapes, and make the students listen and comprehend. One day the teacher may decide we will do only speaking. So all the students have been prepared to speak whatever they have been told to speak on. So one, it becomes easy to teach, to learn. On the other hand, you can focus on each part independently, separately. And therefore, very often in programs, teaching programs, education programs, we find that all these 4 language skills plus grammar and vocabulary are discretely taught, addressed separately. But when you use language, you have to use language in a whole. You have to integrate all the skills. You cannot break them up. You cannot say that, okay, today I am going to only listen and I am not going to either speak or read or write. In real life, you combine all the skills together. According to Oxford, if all the strands are not woven together effectively, instructional loom is likely to produce something small, weak, ragged, pale, not recognizable as a tapestry at all. This quote has taken its simile, metaphor from cloth. Now imagine a piece of cloth. If you are simply given threads, would you be able to wear those threads? Though you know what each thread is like, you may tell that this thread is long, this thread is short, this is red color thread, this is blue color thread, this is pink color thread. But if I'm simply given threads, I would not be able to wear it. When you integrate all the threads and create cloth, only then would you be able to use it. We can look at language in something similar. There are several experts, linguistic experts, researchers, scholars who have commented on segregated skill oriented course, which we were talking about just now, listening, speaking, reading and writing. The focus of instruction is so much that one particular skill can be emphasized and can be learned a lot properly, but it often happens at the expense of teaching language itself. You break it up and you focus on each broken part so much that you forget the whole. And therefore, Oxford says that integrated skills approach focuses on the linking of language skills for the purpose of real communication. All the skills are interlocked as they are in everyday life. And therefore, when you practice one, you end up practicing the other as well. So as you can see here, all the receptive skills depend upon productive skills. So when we listen, what do we listen to? It is a text which has already been spoken by somebody or a written text read out by somebody. So we cannot ignore speaking and reading when we are talking about listening. And same thing happens in case of the other receptive skill, reading. You read what somebody else has written. And when we look at productive skills, they are in turn dependent upon the receptive skills. So when you have to speak, right now I am speaking, but to speak, I have to listen to so much of material already existent. I have to read a lot. I may have to prepare my notes. As you can see, I've prepared my slides, I've written down. Same thing happens when you have to write something. To be able to write, you first need to read about what you have to write. You may have to listen to a lot of material, and sometimes you even have to speak, and therefore all the skills are integrated. You cannot really break them up. So when you are taking up one skill, you are bringing in the other skills one way or the other, and therefore learning languages can begin by breaking them up into separate parts, but ultimately the aim is to integrate them and teach language holistically as a one entity rather than into several parts. So there are two kinds of instructions which focus on integrated skills instruction. One is called content-based education, another is called task-based teaching. They focus more on end, the ultimate objective, rather than how we reach there. So what I'm basically trying to say is, instead of breaking up language into its constituent parts, it focuses on the language itself. So let me first begin by talking about content-based language instruction. Now, whenever we are talking about any such kind of modules or any such kind of instruction approaches, we are primarily beginning by the understanding that there is a distinction between teaching a first language and teaching a second language. First language is our native language. We sometimes call it our mother tongue. The language that we have first learned in our life, for which we have never needed any school education. But the second language is that language which have been formally taught, often in schools, and which is not our language of daily conversation, communication, and interaction. Now, to teach the target language, which happens to be English in this case, we need certain frameworks. And content-based language instruction, since it is addressing the second language, we would have to think in terms of how our target language can be learnt holistically to be able to make learners equipped to communicate. Now, if you go back to your school circumstances, if your school teaching learning environment, you might remember that you would have had a period of English, maybe 30 minutes, 50 minutes or so, where English was taught to you. In 24 hours, you will be acquainted with English only in a small duration, during a small period, which would be of a few minutes, not even of even an hour. Secondly, English was taught as a content. The way you learnt mathematics or geography or history, English was taught as a content that had to be learned. You were given some questions, you were made to write some answers, and you had to reproduce the same in the final examination. So you were learning it as a content rather than as a medium of communication. So when you are looking at content-based instruction, there is a shift from treating language as a content, as a subject to be learned, and there is more focus on language as a medium of instruction, as a tool of communication. So it focuses primarily on the content or the context. To give you an example, when you used to study geography in your school, geography is a content. Okay, so let us understand it as a subject. To teach that subject, the teacher can teach you either using your mother tongue, which may be Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, Bengali, Punjabi, etc. Or it can be taught using English as a medium of instruction. Sometimes people say that when it is taught in our mother tongue, it becomes easy for us to learn it. But then you also have to learn the target language. And if you do not start learning the target language, when will you learn it? So there is this kind of a new approach towards teaching language, which says that whenever you are teaching content, for example, in chemistry, geography, economics, and mathematics, let English be the medium of instruction. Then English will try to replicate the real life. So we are not studying English as a subject, but English is the medium through which any subject is being taught. So content-based instruction is a new important approach in language education. Instruction takes place in content. So the medium of instruction is the language that you need to learn. So if you wish to learn English language, your teaching has to be done in English language. It is a form of content-based instruction, topic or theme-based approach. So instead of teaching language as a subject, you teach the subjects, but you teach these subjects using the target language. Target language means the language that we have to learn. So there are several advantages of content-based instruction. It gives exposure to comprehensible input and provides integrated skill-based activities. So the students are learning some subject matter, but they are doing this kind of learning using all the language skills. Secondly, content-based language instruction is more real life, more authentic. So when you are going to school, if I am not mistaken, please correct me if you think I am saying something wrong. But the idea here is, when you go to school, you prepare more, you devote more time, more energy, let us say, to learning history, geography, physics, mathematics, chemistry, than the amount of time you spend in learning English as a content, as a subject. So, if we replace English as a content, and if we give you more time to focus on all these subjects, but teach all these subjects through the medium of instruction called English, then you will get more exposure to real life content. An example in support of this is, there are several schools which are Gujarati medium, Hindi medium, Marathi medium, Tamil medium, Bengali medium, etc. And there are several schools which are English medium schools. Now, in an English medium school, every content is taught through English. And the students of English medium schools are able to use English in a much more integrated manner than the students of schools which come from different medium schools. So, let us say a Hindi medium school student may not be able to use English as efficiently as a student who comes from English medium schools. Now, why is this differentiation happening? They might have the same syllabus, same textbooks for teaching English, but there English is taught as a content, not as a medium of instruction. And therefore, when you use English as a medium of instruction and follow content-based instruction, there is a high degree of probability that more language learning will take place. Any educational approach that considers language learning alone and ignores the learning of subject matter is inadequate to the needs of the learner. So, what is it trying to say basically? When you focus only on learning of language, I mean, what is language? Language is content, language is context. So, if there is no content, if there is no context, how can language be learned? So, if you say that you can teach language in isolation, that doesn't happen. Language has to be considered as a medium of learning, and we have to acknowledge that context plays a lot of role in communication. One of the very important proponents of content-based language instruction, Kranke, says that it is the teaching of content or information in the language being learned with little or no effort to teach the language itself separately from the content being taught. So, when you are teaching content, what Kranke is basically trying to tell you is that when you are teaching content through medium of instruction which happens to be English, then you are basically not focusing on learning of English, but English learning is inadvertently, effortlessly, side by side taking place. And as a result, more language learning takes place than would take place if you are teaching English as a content. So, CBI is not an approach, is not a method. There is this idea, there is this belief that language can be learned without paying special attention to it. So, there are no specific techniques. I think you all would agree. We all have often talked about medium of instruction. If your textbooks are in English, if your instruction imparting is in English, a lot of learning takes place because a lot of exposure takes place to language. It is based on two principles or theories. These are the two principles and theories. People learn a second language more successfully when they use the language as a means of acquiring information rather than as an end in itself. That means when the focus is on language itself, less learning takes place. But when the focus is on learning the content in a particular language, through a particular language, more learning takes place. And the second principle of this is students learn best when instruction addresses students' needs. Now, there is a student of science who is doing, let us say, BSc. The student is more interested in learning about chemistry, physics, mathematics, zoology, etc. The student will not be very much interested in learning English. The student may not pay much attention, give more time to learning of English. The student would be primarily focused on learning what the student wants to learn in his specialized field. What I said about sciences can be applicable even to students who are, let us say, learning commerce, marketing, accountancy, statistics. They do not treat English as a content of prime importance. For them, subjects of statistics or marketing or accountancy will be more important, more relevant, more useful. And therefore, English is somewhere sidelined. So instead of teaching English as a content, as a paper, if the medium of instruction is changed towards English, if all the books are in English, if everything takes place in English, then the learning will be more faster because the attention is focused away from learning English, and secondly, you are teaching the students what they want to learn. When they want to learn something, they will pay more attention to it, put more efforts in learning what they wish to learn, and therefore more learning takes place. What are the advantages? It situates language learning through language use, how language is actually used in real life circumstances. Meaningful and relevant employment of language takes place, and it motivates the learners because what they wish to learn, they are being taught. Only the medium of instruction has changed. It facilitates the learning of content as well as facilitates the learning of the language. So there are certain drawbacks. The drawbacks are: a teacher who is teaching a content may not know the target language. For example, a teacher who is teaching chemistry comes from Marathi medium. The teacher knows Marathi but does not know English. And when the teacher has to teach chemistry through English, the teacher will find it very challenging because the teacher is not equipped to teach through the target language. So a collaboration between language teacher and the subject matter teacher is imperative. What comes into focus is the joint effort between the two and the collaborative effort between the two and the language and content combination of both the teachers. So it will be a little challenging to show or to effectuate that both the language teacher and the content teacher work together to teach the students one particular subject. Secondly, it's a little challenging for students as well because they may not be equipped to learn in the target language. So maybe some of you students come from your regional language backgrounds, and suddenly when you come to higher education, you are told that you have to learn through English. I've heard it happen many a times, and therefore they find it very difficult to cope up with what is being taught. They sometimes fail to understand certain concepts. So there is definitely a way out. We will be talking about that too. Instruction materials may not be available. There may not be several textbooks which are available in that particular target language to teach that content. So to teach chemistry, it is quite possible that I want to learn French. French is my target language. But a chemistry textbook in French may not be available. And therefore, how do you teach? So content-based instruction has one serious limitation, is the availability of the textbooks in the target language. And then finally, assessment. Who does the assessment? Language teacher does the assessment or the content teacher does the assessment? So if the content teacher does the assessment, how do you get to know whether language has been learned? If the language teacher does the assessment, how do you know whether content has been learned? So again, both the teachers will have to either collaborate and work on assessment. So your question paper probably will have some questions of chemistry and some questions of language. Right? So content-based language teaching basically talks about integration of the two. So to sum up, it combines language and content. Language learning takes place in the background. Priority is given to the teaching and learning of the content. What are the objectives are determined by the curriculum, determined by the syllabus of language, and it provides maximum opportunities for the L2 learners. As we have already seen, we already discussed, students who are studying in English medium schools, they get much more exposure to English language, to the target language, and therefore opportunities of learning the target language are maximized. There is a lot of possibility of communicative interaction, integrating the skills, being able to express themselves happens in content based. And as a result, language skills improve. So all in all, content based language teaching seems to be a very powerful approach where content is taught using the target language. Okay. So now I will be moving towards the second approach, which integrates all the language skills. So if I go back a little bit, when we are talking about content-based language teaching, if I put in perspective all the language skills, you will get an idea that, let us take the example of geography. All the concepts of geography, the names of places, what happened when, what is the geographical region, what is the landscape, etc. All those terms are in English. The textbooks are written in English. The students read those textbooks in English. The teacher speaks in English. The students listen in English. The students respond in English, so they themselves speak in English. When the students have to write, they also have to write in English. So, language learning is taking place in the background. Grammatical rules of the language are being learned. A lot of vocabulary is also expanding. So, in all the 4 language skills are being addressed, plus grammar and vocabulary also are getting learned through CPI. Same thing happens in task-based language teaching. As the name suggests, task-based language teaching focusing on integrating all the language skills through certain tasks. Now, one of the things that we had talked about earlier is the fact that when you make learners actively engaged in the process of learning, learning takes place. When any classroom is teacher-centric, less learning takes place because learners tend to get bored and tend to get sleepy. But if you keep the learners' energies utilized, make them involved in the process of learning, then more language learning takes place. Taking a cue from this kind of an idea, task-based language teaching focuses on making learners involved in the process of learning a language. It functions by involving the learners through pair or group work. So either 2 students sit together and do the work, or small groups of students, 4 or 5 students sit together and do the tasks that are allotted to them. These activities are standalone activities, but these activities focus on all the 4 language skills and ensure that learners not merely comprehend, produce, manipulate and interact in the authentic language. So, The learners will have to understand in the target language. They will have to create something and produce expression in the target language, utilize the language, and interact with other students, other members of their group in the target language. And as a result, they will be more focused on communicating their ideas, their meanings, rather than limiting themselves only to the form of language. So, to give you an example, the learners can be given a picture and they may be asked to sit together in small groups, 4 or 5, and they may be asked to interpret the meaning of the picture. Nothing is written on the picture, it is only a picture. But the learners have to discuss and try to derive meaning. Now, different learners, different students would interpret the meaning in their own way. They need not all of them think alike. So, to discuss the meaning and to come to one final solution that this picture means this, they will have to negotiate with each other and discuss with each other, convince each other, and finally produce some conclusion. So, a lot of learning would take place in the process of completing one task. Now, what the learners would be interested in is ensuring that they all have completed the task that has been assigned to them. And in the process, their mind will not be focusing on language, but their mind will focus on creation of the output. And therefore, you find that all these 3 circles are addressed. So you get an interactional support. All the participants in the group are talking to each other. They are engaging themselves in a meaningful task. There is a positive, safe, and rich learning environment. Why this is important? The blue circle. So as a teacher, when a teacher asks a question in a classroom, there might be only 1 or 2 students who respond. They may raise their hands or they may immediately answer when the teacher asks. Now, does that mean that only 1 or 2 students in the entire class know the answer? Sometimes, but not always. Several times it happens that several students in the classroom know the answer, but they are inhibited. We use the word inhibited. They are in a way afraid that if we say something wrong, people will be judgmental about us. So it is not that they do not know the answer, it is rather that they do not feel safe in answering. So if we change this, we may be able to make more students interactive in the classroom. Now, how can we change that? Let us say we have a classroom of 60 students. Instead of 60 students, the student has to speak in front of 4 others. So, the student is sitting in a small group of 5. The student will then have to speak, only 4 others listen. So, the fear becomes very much less. All of them are working towards finding a final solution, and therefore nobody is being judgmental about each other, and people are more concerned not about the other people but finding the solution. So there is a positive, safe and rich learning environment which ensures that learners are able to learn better and are able to interact. So how does task-based language teaching proceed? It is divided into 2 broad segments. One is pre-task and the other is task cycle. Pre-task is basically meant as an icebreaker, where the students are sensitized as to what has to be done. Their interests are ignited. They are made motivated to perform the task. The topic is discussed. The format of the task is discussed. Groups are formed. Interests are shown. Interests are sought. Instructions are given. Maybe a demo task can be done so that all the students are interested in doing the task. Then comes the actual task cycle. So, to give you an example, I will explain taking an example. Let us say there is a classroom of 60 students and they are divided into groups of 5 students each. So that means you will have 20 groups. Each group is, let us say, given some amount, and they are told that they have to buy things which are necessary for them to survive for one day, because they have to live in the school and they will not be allowed to go out. And using these 2000 rupees, they have to ensure that they will live for one whole day in the school premises, and all 5 of them, their requirements have to be met. Now the students would be asked to list down what all do they need to do that. They have 2 hours and they have to finish their task within 2 hours. Now students will have to discuss amongst themselves. They will have to plan what all they need to do. They will have to implement whatever they have decided to do. And then they will have to report to the class and to the teacher that this is how we have divided, this is how we have decided that we will be spending our 2000 rupees. They may also be given a chart containing cost of different items or different things that they can buy. So referencing the amount that they have, in the context, in the situation in which they find themselves, their requirements, and what is the price list. The students will have to complete the task cycle within 2 hours and report to the teacher that this is what we have done. Now, all the students would be more interested in ensuring that each one of us gets the things that we require. It may be from toiletries, it may be from food items, it may be from beddings, etc. Nobody is concerned about language, but they are interacting with each other continuously in language. So much vocabulary is being generated. So much discussion is happening. Several sentences are being spoken. You're doing a lot of negotiation and manipulation. You have only 2000 rupees and the prices are so high. So you cannot buy things for everybody. So you discuss and negotiate with each other. So vocabulary, grammar is being taken care of. When students are talking with each other, they are doing both listening and speaking. And when they are making a list of all the items that they have to buy, comparing it with the price cycles, they are doing reading and writing continuously. And as a result, all the language skills are being focused. And the students are engaged in learning the language, but their minds are on completing the task that they have been allotted. So these are a few works that I have referred to come to this kind of a discussion. As I move towards the conclusion, I would summarize this entire unit. We began by looking at the basic skills of language, which are the 4 language skills. Then we moved on. Then we moved on to receptive skills. And then we had a look at the productive skills. We also, in passing, looked at the oral skills and the literacy or the written skills. And then we moved on to two other important pillars of language, grammar and vocabulary. Finally, I talked about how all the language skills which we were so far discussing discretely, separately, we can combine all of them together, and by integrating all the language skills, we can use content-based language teaching or task-based language teaching to teach and address the content. So if you people have any questions, any doubts or any queries, please feel free to contact me. My email ID is there on one of the slides. So I would like to conclude by telling you, enjoy reading, happy learning, and all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.